I am going to attempt to watch every single Simpsons Treehouse episode up until Halloween. Wish me luck. Starting tonight with part one. Now, this is the only one that actually even takes place in a treehouse, which is actually, it doesn't even say Halloween special. Actually, it doesn't even say the Treehouse of Horror. Treehouse of Horror didn't really come into like to be a thing, I think, until like maybe the third or fourth one. This was just called Halloween Special before the Treehouse brand. And the original intent behind this was to actually parody EC comics, like old EC comics, like in the vein of Creep Show, Tales from the Crypt, The Vault of Terror, The Witch's Hour. Like that was the idea behind it, which is why this one is regarded to be as one of the best ones in the franchise and in the series, because they have a way of balancing the humor and the horror, and they do it so well. In later iterations, they just become a parody rather than trying to scare you, because these three segments really did kind of scare you as a kid, and they actually do hold up very well. The first being Bad Dream House, which is kind of a parody of Poltergeist, Amityville Horror, pretty much any haunted house movie, you know what I mean, that you could think of. This movie, this segment was parodying it. And this actually had a really good segment. It was very well paced, some really great gags, and it was creepy throughout. And you always felt that the Simpsons were in a sense of danger. Like you always thought, man, they're in danger here. Our lead characters are really in danger. Like, what's gonna happen? And then in the end, when the house rejects them, you just feel bad for them. Hey man, Homer can't help himself, man, to save himself a few $1,000s. If I was in Homer's position, I'd probably get this house too. You know what I mean? He moves his family into his quote unquote dream house. They find out the house is built on top of an Indian burial ground. The house doesn't want to live with them, and so off you go. The next segment in our twisted anthology is Hungry Are the Damned, which is, I did not know this until like I did some research for this, but this was actually a parody off a movie, off a I think a movie called To Serve Man or To Serve Human. And this is about aliens, Kados and Craig, their very first appearance, abducting the Simpsons and taking them to Rajal Planet 7, as where they'll be held as kings and gods and all this other stuff. And as a kid, I always thought that the aliens were funny and not to be trusted. And I think this actually really kind of talks about stranger danger in the sense that, or really kind of more just tells more about yourself of where your moral compass is and how you really are just trusting to people. Even as a kid, I didn't trust these two guys. Even watching this, I still don't trust them. And again, on further research, the original intent that Matt Groening wanted to do was to at least blow the book one more time to say how to cook for 40 humans. So the original intent is that these guys were going to eat them, but I do like the fact that it is ambiguous enough where like you're like, maybe they didn't, maybe they don't. But in researching that, yeah, my instincts were dead on, because yeah, they were going to eat those motherfuckers as soon as they got on. This is Hansel and Gretel. This is a Soylent Green. This is exactly what this movie is, or this segment is. This is actually very well. And last but not least, The Raven. We close out our Twisted Anthology with the Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. The fact that James Earl Jones appears 3 times in this episode is amazing, and he does the narration for The Raven just adds just much more credibility to this episode, to this segment right here. And I'll be honest, when as a little kid, I did not understand this. I did not get it. I didn't understand why it was so creepy. I didn't understand why people held it as one of the best ever. And I remember when up until the point where I was like maybe 15, 16, this would come on. I remember that I would always go off and do something else and come back for the wraparound segment. And it wasn't until like much more later that I learned about this. I learned about Raven, Edgar Allan Poe. I learned all that shit, and I appreciate this segment way more than I did as a kid, as a teenager. This is actually one of the best segments ever in the Treehouse canon, in my opinion. This is arguably the best. And again, this is just atmospheric horror. This one will scare the fuck out of you. Honestly, if I had kids, I'd show them this every Halloween. I'd show them this because I think this episode knows how to scare kids. I know when I watched this, I was scared when I first saw this as a kid. And I know if I ever had kids, like this would be the one that I would show them. Like if I ever had any, but this is just that one. You know what I mean? This is already one of the best. One of the best. So that is episode 1, Halloween special. But all in all, this is actually a very well done Halloween special. It really is well done. And the fall off must be studied because, yeah, this is a really good one, though. Solid start for an annual fall tradition.